Hello, my dear students. This is Learners Academy, and you are listening to Mona Bhatia. Today's poem is Animals by Walt Whitman. Before I take up the poem, I want to quote Mark Twain. He once said, "The more I learnt about people, the more I like my dog." Let's move on to the poem now. Walt Whitman is a major figure in American poetry. Walt Whitman defied all the traditions by writing the poetry without rhyme scheme. The poet Walt Whitman is often called father of free verse, and he was a non-conformist in all respect, including his social life. The poet tells us that he feels more at home with animals than human, what he finds complicated and false. Let's move on to the poem now. Let us read and understand each and every line. Alright? I think I could turn and live with animals. They are. Now, from whom he wants to turn? Could turn and live with animals. So he wants to turn away from humans and he wants to live with animals. Why? He's giving in this answer in the poem itself. You'll have to go through the whole poem. The poet is not interested in human beings, and the reason is also given in the second sentence. So placid and self-contained. The meaning of the placid is they don't get upset easily, and they are self-contained. Who? The animals. Because the animals, they don't get upset easily because they are self-contained, means they are self-sufficient. They don't run helter and skelter to seek their happiness. Now the line number 3 says he can gaze at them for hours and hours. Alright. Now line number 4 states that he does not sweat or whine about their condition. Basically he means that the animals don't regret for their doing. They don't have the concepts of good and evil or wrong or sin in them. They don't spend sleepless nights thinking about the guilt or feel miserable about it. Alright? Now the line number 6, they do not make me sick discussing about their duty to God. So what is the difference? They don't discuss their good duty to God. Alright? Now line number 6 also states that they live without thinking about their duties towards God. According to poet, he doesn't like discussing duties towards God. That very idea, or thought makes him repulsive. Now line number 7 states that not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with. With what? The mania of owning things. So we'll take these two lines together. Alright. So according to the poet, no animal is dissatisfied and they are not crazy to keep on acquiring things or objects to show their superiority over others. Here demented means mad and mania means craze. Alright. So the same meaning words are used in the same line. Same meaning words used in the same line means tautology. Now we are going to take line number 9 and 10 together. Not one kneels to another, not to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. You'll never see any animal showing respect and kneels down in front of other animals. Have you ever? They don't even kneel down before any of their ancestors that lived thousands of years ago. Okay. Now, not one is line number 11. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. Means no animal is unhappy about anything. Over the whole earth is an hyperbole here. Alright? To suggest that the whole world has been exaggerated to refer to the animals all over the world. Now line number 12 states that so they show their relations to me and I accept them. In these lines, poet says that the animals show their love and affection and he gently accepts them. Alright, now line number 13 and 14, again we are going to take them together. They bring me tokens of myself, they evince. Evince means show them plainly in their possessions. Alright, the meaning is the word token refers to the good qualities of human beings that human beings have lost now, like contentment, satisfaction, simplicity. Now all these qualities which were with human beings earlier, now they all these qualities belongs to animals. Alright, now in the 15th line he's wondering, you know, I wonder where they get these tokens. I wonder where they get those tokens. The poet wonders from where did these animals obtain these tokens. He's giving the answer by asking yet another question in the last line. Alright, for us to think and ponder. This is an interrogation. Alright, interrogation in a poem doesn't seek an answer, it basically makes the reader to think. Now, did I pass that way huge time ago and negligently drop them? Now, huge time ago is a hyperbole. Alright, so he's asking, the poet wonders if mankind, he himself, has passed those tokens long time ago while passing through various stages of evolution. He thinks man carelessly gave all these virtues which were meant for humans, alright, in the pursuit of success and progress. Alright, that's all about the poem. Let's move on to the next section, figures of speech. In this slide, we have certain words which are highlighted in red. The first one is turn. Turn means away, move away. Placid. Placid means not easily upset. Self-contained. Self-contained means self-sufficient. Make me sick. It means disgust me. Demented means mad. Mania means crazy. Respectable. Now here respectable means too happy and satisfied. Events means show, and tokens here means virtues like innocence, simplicity, contentment, etc. Now we'll move on to the next slide. There are certain questions that you need to answer to have a better understanding of the poem, and I would like you to try and attempt these questions on your own, and in case you are not able to, you can ask us in the comment section. Figures of speech is the most important aspect of any poem. The figures of speech which are covered in this poem have been written on the left hand side of the slide, and alliteration and repetition have been highlighted in red. Alliteration means whenever the sounds are repeated in a sentence for pleasing or musical effect, then the speech of figure of speech is alliteration. And for example, discussing their duty to God, so the sound of letter D is repeated here. Now in the line, for the second last line, you can see, I wonder they get these tokens. I wonder where they get these tokens. So wonder, W is repeated for poetic effect, and letter TH and makes the sound. The sound of the is repeated also in the second last line of this poem. And the repetition means when the word is repeated, the whole word is repeated, that figure of speech is repetition. For example, in line number 3, the word long is repeated, and in line number 7, not one, this word is repeated twice in the same line for better poetic effect. Now I'm going to take up each and every line and give you all the breakups here. Line number 3, just look at that. I stand and look at them long and long, that is the figure of speech here is repetition. And line number 4, there is something very important here, please focus. There is an onomatopoeia here, whine. I whine about their condition. What is an onomatopoeia? When a word conveys the sound that is to be expressed. The figure of speech is onomatopoeia. Alright, now we move on to line number 6. They do not make me sick. Discussing their duty to God. The letter sound is repeated. Alliteration. Now come to 7, line number 7. There is alliteration as well as there is alliteration as well as there is a repetition here. The letter D is repeated, so the figure of speech is alliteration and repetition. Now line number 7 and 8. Here there is one figure of speech which is highlighted here. Is this is demented and mania. That means there is a tautology. What is a tautology? When two words or phrases in a sentence means the same thing. The figure of speech is tautology. Here demented and mania, they both mean the same thing. Alright, that is crazy. Now we'll move on to line number 11. Alright, not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So what is this figure of speech? There is hyperbole. The word whole world, whole earth. Whole earth means there is a hyperbole here. This word has been used to exaggerate, to refer to all the animals that live in the world. There is antithesis also here. Why antithesis? What is an antithesis? Antithesis means when we have two opposite meaning words present in the opposite meaning words or opposite ideas which are used in the same sentence. So here antithesis is because the word respectable and unhappy, these two contrasting ideas and different ideas are used. Alright, respectable means happy and satisfied, whereas unhappy means sad or dissatisfied in the same line. These two words have been used, so the figure of speech here is antithesis. Now in line number 13 you can see there is repetition as well as alliteration. In line number 14 you can see there is alliteration, and in line number 13 there is tautology also. Alright, me and myself, they both mean the same thing. So again there is one more figure of speech, tautology. Now line number 14 there is again letter P is repeated, so alliteration. And line number 15, I wonder where they get those tokens. So here the figure of speech is alliteration because the letter W and TH, the, is repeated. Now we move on to the last line of this poem. Did I pass that way huge time ago? Now here the huge time ago is a hyperbole. It is used to exaggerate the passage of time. Another figure of speech is interrogation. That means there is a question asked. The poet concludes the poem with a question, not to get an answer, but to encourage readers to think deeply about his situation. So what is an interrogation? When a question is asked instead of a statement. Alright, now we'll move on to the next session. In the critical appreciation of the poem, we have to cover 5 topics. The title of the poem is Animals. Poet. The poem is penned by Walt Whitman, who defied all the traditions by writing the poetry without a rhyme scheme, and this poet is also known as the father of free verse. Now figures of speech. The poem is in free verse. Unlike the conventional use of rhyme scheme used during his era, and the poet has not used any rhyme scheme. Even the length of the lines is not equal here in this poem. The figures of speech. The various figures of speech used to enhance the beauty of the poem are tautology. Not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Demented and mania means the same. Onomatopoeia, they do not sweat or whine. Sweat or whine denotes sound. Then antithesis, not one is respectable or unhappy. Here are respectable and unhappy. These are two contrasting ideas placed in the same line. Hyperbole, the word huge time ago is used to exaggerate the passage of time. In the last line there is also interrogation where he says, did I pass that, and question mark. So that is an interrogation, not to seek an answer but to encourage readers to think about the situation that human being have landed himself into. The other figures of speech apart from these are alliteration and repetition. In this you don't have to mention give examples of all the figures of speech, but you should try to use all those which are different, like antithesis, hyperbole, interrogation, rather than giving example for alliteration and repetition, which is a very simple thing which you had been doing since 5th or 6th standard. Now the theme or central idea of the poem. The theme of the poem is that the animals have preserved many virtues like innocence, simplicity, compassion, cooperation, but human beings, they have destroyed them over a period of time for material things and selfish nature. Human beings have become complicated and have forgotten their true nature. We should have prudence to inculcate forgotten basic human values which makes us human in true sense. Animals, they don't crib. Humans are pretentious and selfish. Animals do not harbor any prejudice or malice. So that's all about the critical appreciation. And now why I like or dislike the poem. I like this poem as it teaches us to think back, bring back those qualities which have been lost by us in the long journey of human evolution. The sarcasm used by the poet subtly tells us to be just like animals and live the life they live. We should avoid being pretentious. We should find our true nature, compassion, prudence, and cooperation. We should not harbor any prejudice or malice. And since I really love animals, I can relate this poem really well. I would like to inculcate all the good qualities and free natures of animals in me. And I have observed these qualities of mm, animals in all young children, including myself. These qualities are slowly disappearing as I am growing older. And as we grow older, we become cunning, worldly, we become shrewd, and also we forget our true nature. That's all about this poem. If you have any question, you can ask them in the comment section. Thank you.